I have a client who I had a discussion with several weeks ago. It was really eye opening for her. She has like this daily mocha habit, which we decided it was a habit because she was just sort of doing it and going, I don't know why this is happening. Like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning on the way to work every morning, like clockwork, pull over, go in the coffee shop, have this mocha. So we kind of dug into it a little bit more. And I was like, okay, well, let's think about why you're doing it. Like, what do you think? What are the thoughts in your head that are coming up? Well, I'm on my way to work. I'm working really hard. I'm feeling really deserving. And there it was, deserving. It was a reward. And I said, okay, rewards are cool. Rewards are given out for going above and beyond. And I just sort of let that hit for a minute. And I was like, do you feel like your everyday life, you're going above and beyond? And it just kind of washed over her. She was like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. Like, and we're working on kind of paring down the commitments she has in each and every day because it's really too much for any one human being. She's miraculous, but it's Herculean. And I said, look, there's nothing wrong with a mocha, right? They're delicious. If you really enjoy them and you really love them, let's sort out times for you to actually experience them and not just have it be in this loop of habit where you're feeling you're going above and beyond every single day and needing a reward for that or even a carrot for that, right? It was happening at the beginning of her day. So that gets into a lot of gray area because it's like, well, mochas aren't bad. It's not never have a mocha, but it's let's adjust the relationship of the mocha from this kind of compulsive reward to something we really pick and choose to enjoy on occasion. I'm super excited for us to dive in today into one of the foundational pieces of the My Body Tutor program that I think can sometimes be a little confusing, and that's our relationship with food. I find a lot of clients come in, they seem to think they know what it's about, but oftentimes are confused. What's your experience?
Yeah, I think people come to us, they want to change their relationship with food. And what does that mean? I think they want to feel like they're in control, right? They're controlling their food, not food is controlling them, right? They want to have freedom from food. They don't want to feel guilty around food. They want to feel differently around food. They want to change their relationship with food. But I think ultimately that's what it means, right? They want to feel like they're in control of their food choices, not the other way around.
Right. And the good news is food's an inanimate object. Right? Like it's not running the show actually. I mean, I think that's good news. My husband's always like, you can't really be in a relationship with food. I'm like, yeah. Leave me alone. Keep your social worker stuff to yourself. So anyway, what I love to ask clients is, okay, let's talk about how you related to that food, right? We teach the broccoli test. So a lot of our clients are hip on like, okay, I get the difference. This is physical hunger. This is emotional hunger. All right. And when it's emotional hunger, I often say, okay, what were you trying to achieve? What was it you wanted to get? How did you relate to that food? What kind of terminology do you use, or how do you coach your clients through that?
Yeah, so I always remind them that it's never about the food. It's about what the food allows us to avoid and or the void it fills, right? And I think when you understand that it's not about the food, right? So we're either feeling, frustrated, disappointed, sad, anxious, we want to numb ourselves, we want to feel joy, we want to feel pleasure. There's all sorts of reasons why we eat, but the key is understanding that it's never about the food. And when we realize and feel that we're emotionally hungry, or I should say, when we feel hungry, and I quote hungry because it's actually not for food, it's for something else, the idea is to get to the root of the issue, right? What are we actually hungry for? Because again, it's not about the food. And, to your point about the broccoli test, if you were hungry for food, then the idea of broccoli or insert any vegetable would be appealing.
Yeah. Yeah, mostly. Right? I don't know. There are some on my list I don't think I'd eat.
Well, but whatever your favorite vegetable is.
So some things that people run into, it's like when we're using food. And just side note, something that I always try to remind my clients, like imagine if food was a person. Is that really what you want to be doing? Using that person using people. I mean, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but just stick that in your brain. Little something to think about. But ways in which we do use food to deal with stress, anger, exhaustion, boredom, um, pleasure, one you love, entertainment, fun, right? Like all the emotions, not just the negative stuff, but also the positive stuff. And something I was saying to you earlier, think about it this way. We're not going to go to our butcher and have him do a dental cleaning, right? And listen, I mean, at least I hope not. But there are gray areas with food, which I think are really interesting and also important to navigate because, like I also said, maybe you go to the hairdresser, right? Okay, awesome, doing a job for you, cutting, styling your hair, also probably giving some advice, right? So there is gray area in food relationships, which, that's something we work on a lot. That's a skill you can develop, which can be exciting, right? Because then nothing's truly off limits. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. Let's go deeper.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. So, for instance, I have a client who I had a discussion with several weeks ago. It was really eye opening for her. She has like this daily mocha habit, which we decided it was a habit because she was just sort of doing it and going, I don't know why this is happening. Like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning on the way to work every morning, like clockwork. Pull over, go in the coffee shop, have this mocha. So we kind of dug into it a little bit more. And I was like, okay, well, let's think about why you're doing it. Like, what do you think? What are the thoughts in your head that are coming up? Well, I'm on my way to work. I'm working really hard. I'm feeling really deserving. And there it was, deserving. It was a reward. And I said, okay, rewards are cool. Rewards are given out for going above and beyond. And I just sort of let that hit for a minute. And I was like, do you feel like your everyday life, you're going above and beyond? And it just kind of washed over her. She was like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. Like, and we're working on kind of paring down the commitment she has in each and every day because it's really too much for any one human being. She's miraculous, but it's Herculean. And I said, look, there's nothing wrong with a mocha, right? They're delicious. If you really enjoy them and you really love them, let's sort out times for you to actually experience them and not just have it be in this loop of habit where you're feeling you're going above and beyond every single day and needing a reward for that or even a carrot for that, right? It was happening at the beginning of her day. So that gets into a lot of gray area because it's like, well, mochas aren't bad. It's not never have a mocha, but it's let's adjust the relationship of the mocha from this kind of compulsive reward to something we really pick and choose to enjoy on occasion. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love that. That's very insightful in getting to the root of the issue, which she was using that because she felt she was deserving of it. She felt she needed a reward, and it was kind of just became habitual, and that's how she was starting her day. And to your point, it's never about never enjoying that, but we want to be intentional about it, not automatically picking that up on the way to work every day.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, at the root of this, kind of what you've been saying, like this is relationship work, right? Like imagine if it was a person in your life, you're going to have to kind of unravel a lot of this and get into the nitty gritty. Well, why am I acting this way? And what is it that I actually need from you? And are you actually fulfilling those needs? And it turns out like a mocha is kind of a lame reward for really going above and beyond, in my opinion. If we need a reward, let's reward ourselves. I used to be that person who would like graze on my kids' snacks because it was like, let me just get to like the next part of my day. Like I deserve this handful of goldfish. And then I got real and I'm like, not a great reward. This is kind of lame. So I've had to do some relationship work along the way as well. What about you, Adam?
Of course, we all teach what we need to learn, right? Absolutely. I think, we all do. And I think, I've had many conversations with people who are extremely busy, and me just saying, hey, I think you're using food as a reward is a big light bulb moment for them. And they don't realize that because it's become so automatic, so habitual. And it's like when you realize there's other ways to treat yourself, there's other ways to reward yourself. It's life changing for them because they think, yes, food is, quick, it's reliable, it's cheap, whatever it might be, but it's never giving them what they really want.
Right.
It's never going to give them what they really want.
Well, and I think on the other end of that, right? Because there can be a ditch on both sides in a lot of this work. I and I'm sure you do this too, but I try to work with clients and I say, okay, let's come up with some other rewards, for instance. And it's a lot of what you might expect. Okay, maybe I read a book instead, or I take myself, if you're into pedicures and manicures, I get, a nail situation done or whatever, go get a massage. It all kind of sounds simple and maybe a little not super sexy. But I mean, are mochas super sexy? Like, I just want to challenge people out there because I think a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, that's a nice idea. You say that all the time. Oh yeah, that sounds nice. But did you actually try it? Because it turns out when you give yourself that space for treatment, right? Like massage is a treatment. Lying down to rest and not be engaged with technology, checking emails, things like that. Really resting is treatment, right? But we're constantly using food as like this quick treatment that just doesn't last. So don't dismiss the simple stuff either as a real viable option for addressing these needs.
Yeah, I think a good way to put it also is this ultimately what we want is things that rejuvenate us, right? Things that actually replenish us, not just things that make us not feel. And there's a very big difference, of course, right? I always say food suppresses how we feel. Exercise, on the other hand, actually changes how we feel. And when you have things that actually rejuvenate you, that's a big difference, right? So, I remember this one client, she would always come home and she'd, start snacking. And I'm like, are you actually hungry at that moment? Because we talked, we worked on her having a bigger lunch, having a snack before she left work, etc. And I was like, no, what she really was tired, right? And it was like, all right, well, what if you allowed yourself to sit in your car for 20 minutes before you walk in? Or what if you allowed yourself to go upstairs, before you do anything, allow yourself a quick nap? And that's really what she needed and wanted and why she was eating in the first place, because she was tired, right? And she just needed a boost of energy. So we started that, and it was like, what it is you really want, and what really actually rejuvenated her and replenished her was a quick nap versus just coming home and eating a bag of chips.
Yeah. So it worked. She tried it and it worked.
Right.
And I think, to that point of trying it, try it. What do you have to lose? Oh, so you miss out on a snack? Okay. Tomorrow you can have another one, right? Try it one time. I had a client who I've been working with for a long time, and I had forgotten this. I shared a little bit about this with you. A few years ago, he was habitually snacking at the end of his very long workday on these granola bars. And it was just this compulsive thing. And I was like, this feels like a compulsive relationship with these granola bars. Can we give that granola bar a name? We're going to call her Bridget. And this is no offense to the Bridgets in the world. Bridgets are great people, right? But he and Bridget had this real tangled love affair. And it was the only way I could sort out how to unravel what it was he was getting. And he was getting this real kick, right? At the end of the day, he worked hard and he knew he was going home to a lot more work just for the stage of life he was in with his family. But man, he and Bridget would tango for a couple of minutes and he'd be ready to go. And we got to this point where I was like, no dancing with Bridget today. She's a good lady. You guys like each other in the moment, but something about your chemistry is just not replenishing you.
Right.
Right. And so we worked on some meditation practices instead. He picked up Tai Chi. He was doing things that were actually giving him a real energetic lift versus tangoing with this person who was kind of stealing his thunder in the end. So again, I really love the relationship twist on things. Don't be afraid to name your compulsive snacks. People names. It's interesting.
I love that. And, to that point, one of the things I always suggest is, we all have, typically when we're emotional eating, we're eating for, not the right reasons, right? We're using food, we're typically eating indulgent food, whether it's cookies, chips, ice cream, whatever it might be. And an exercise that I find that is really powerful is labeling food, because the words we use with ourselves are very powerful, right? For example, it's far more effective to say I choose to versus I can't, right? Or I want to versus I should, right? When you use those, former words, it's way more empowering, right? I choose to is way better than I can't, or I want to is way better than I should, because should creates this, obligatory feeling, right? So the words we use with ourselves really make a difference. And the exercise is start labeling your food, right? So let's just say you have nutritious whole food, which is ideally what we want to, have most of our diet comprised of, is food. And then let's say you have your indulgent food, label that as entertainment, right? Just start doing that in your head. Just it's a powerful exercise. This is food, this is entertainment. And then when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, when you go to reach your indulgent food, or what we call entertainment, it's no, I don't eat entertainment. I do fun things for entertainment, right? And it's just a powerful distinction, because when you start realizing I'm eating this for entertainment versus food, it helps you realize what you're doing and helps you say, hey, I don't eat this. I eat for food. Like, I want food, and if I want entertainment, then I'm going to do something fun.
I love that. I mean, and I can actually see that, like, going into other reasons we might emotionally eat, right? Like, I don't eat boredom or for boredom. I do fun things for boredom, or I don't eat for anger. I have a client, bless her heart, anytime she gets super angry, she just, uses food to smash it down. Like,
Right.
I don't eat my anger. Maybe I express my anger. Get it out of you somehow, right? I love that. That's really cool. That's a great suggestion.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think that's that's powerful, and I think naming things, personifying food with a person's name. I mean, I think that's great. The Bridget. But the idea is you want to just create that awareness and understand what it is you're using it for, the food, and then work and take baby steps in terms of getting closer to what it is you really want, right? And it becomes, that's how you start changing your relationship with food, is that awareness and working on different ways to get what it is you're really after. Because again, it's never about the food. It's about what the food allows us to avoid and or the void it fills.
Yeah. And I think just one kind of last note, if I can throw this in there.
Please.
I think it's really important to identify, like, we've not talked about like any tactical, plating, exercise things, right? Like, and I think it's important to understand that when you're changing your relationship with food, I mean, it's just like changing any relationship. It's going to take time, and you have to be willing to put yourself out there, be vulnerable, try new things, make mistakes, ask for help, right? Ask for other perspectives and support. It's relationship work. And so it does take time. Give yourself that time to sort it out and to unravel and to rebuild. I just think it's important to kind of call that out.
Yeah. I mean, at the root of all this, to changing all this, is self-compassion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And part of self-compassion is allowing yourself to practice, is allowing yourself to make mistakes, is allowing yourself to try different things, right? The opposite of self-compassion, I would say, is expecting yourself to be perfect. And the second you're not perfect, you quit, right? So practice being self-compassion, practice, these different things, try on things, test drive different, ways of coping with your feelings. But remember, self-compassion is practicing skills a lot. Whereas I think perfectionism is, zero tolerance. As soon as you mess up, you're done, you're on to the next thing, right? And obviously we know that's what chronic dieters do. We are not chronic dieters. We're looking to actually make a long-lasting change. And the only way to do that is practice. And you practice things enough, it becomes a routine. You do the routine long enough, and then it becomes habitual. And, just like things can be, not a great habit with the mocha, we can have things that become a powerful habit and enhance and serve us in wonderful ways.
Yes, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, that's what we have today for food relationships. Leave your comments below or email Adam. We're always happy to hear from you, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.